Success isn't just about what you do. It's about how you think every single day. What if the real key to getting ahead isn't luck, talent, or connections, but the way you handle your thoughts, your doubts, and your challenges? How often do you let fear or negative voices control your choices? What would happen if you decided to take charge of your mindset, no matter what life throws at you? This video isn't about quick fixes or empty promises. It's about real, powerful changes you can make inside yourself that will shape every part of your life. If you want to understand why 80% of success depends on your mindset and learn how to use that to push past limits, stay with me. This will challenge what you believe, inspire you to act, and give you the strength to keep moving forward even when it's hard. You're about to discover how your mind can become your greatest tool or your biggest obstacle. Let's get started. Number 1, decide every morning to focus on your thoughts. Have you ever woken up and felt like your thoughts were already beating you down before your feet even touched the floor? You stare at the ceiling and there's this weight pressing down. You replay every doubt from the night before. You remember every deadline, every person you let down, every mistake that still stings. And then you drag yourself out of bed and carry all that heaviness with you like a shadow that won't leave. I've been there. I've felt that tightness in my chest. But here's the truth that changed my life, and it can change yours too. The way you win your day doesn't start with your hands or your legs. It doesn't start with your boss, your bank account, or the traffic on the way to work. It starts with one thing. It starts with your thought. And the moment you decide every morning to focus on those thoughts, you shift the direction of your life. Not in some abstract way, but in a very real, very practical way. The first moments when you open your eyes are the moments that shape the rest of your day. You have a choice. You can pick up that phone, scroll, compare, and drown in a flood of noise that doesn't serve you. Or you can make a different decision. You can sit up, slow down, and ask yourself a simple question. What am I going to focus on right now? What am I going to feed my mind? Will I fill it with anger and worry? Or will I fill it with strength, clarity, and purpose? This is not theory. This is a practice. It's a practice you can do every morning. And if you do it every morning, you don't just win a moment. You win an entire life. I've met countless people who have every reason to succeed but still feel lost, because their thoughts are all over the place. They walk into a new day carrying the weight of old thoughts. They tell themselves stories about why things can't work, why their dreams have to wait, why happiness is for someone else. And because that's the story repeating in their head, that's the reality that unfolds in their life. You have to break that cycle. The easiest place to do it is the very moment you wake up. The bed is still warm, the room is quiet, and you have the space to claim those first thoughts as your own. Imagine for a moment waking up and making a decision. Not a huge decision, not one that reshapes the world, just a quiet and focused decision. You tell yourself, today I will focus on thoughts that move me forward. Today I will focus on thoughts that make me strong. Today I will focus on thoughts that create a better future for me and for those I love. You don't have to feel like doing it. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be motivated every second. You just have to make that decision right then and there and stay with it. Stay with it until it becomes a habit. Stay with it until it becomes your way of living. Your thoughts have a direct link to how you feel. Think about it. You can recall a moment from your past, a moment when you felt ashamed or hurt, and instantly your body will tense, your breathing will change, your energy will drop. The thought came first. The thought shaped the emotion. The thought shaped the state of your body, and the state of your body shaped how you acted. It shaped how you spoke. It shaped the results you created. Now flip that. Think about a moment when you felt unstoppable, a moment when you felt proud, hopeful, certain. The thought came first. The thought shaped the feeling. The feeling shaped the state of your body, and that state shaped how you acted. The link is direct. The link is real. And if you understand that, you understand why focusing on your thoughts every morning is the foundation of a successful life. That doesn't mean every thought will be hopeful. That doesn't mean every morning you'll spring out of bed feeling like a champion. Life doesn't work that way. There will be mornings when doubt sneaks in. There will be days when pain or fatigue tries to take the lead. What matters is what you do with those moments. What matters is that you notice the thought, you acknowledge it, and then you ask yourself if it serves the person you want to be. Will this thought help you stand a little taller? Will this thought help you give more of yourself to the things that matter? Will this thought help you build a better future? If it doesn't, you have the right in that very moment to set it down and pick up another one. This is not about ignoring reality. This is about shaping it. The reality you live in every day is built from the thoughts you accept and carry with you. The reality you walk into every morning is shaped by where you place your attention. You can walk into a room carrying anger, doubt, and tension, or you can walk into that same room carrying clarity, strength, and focus. The room doesn't change, you do. The thoughts you carry create the person you present to the world. The person you present to the world creates the results you get from the world. That's why this practice is worth every second of effort. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to the people you love. You owe it to the future you're trying to build. The morning doesn't have to be a race. It can be a quiet stand, a stand for yourself, a stand for the thoughts that deserve a place in your heart and mind. Those thoughts matter. They matter more than any bank balance. They matter more than any title or position. They matter because every action you take is rooted in a thought. And every thought you nurture becomes a piece of your life. Make that choice every morning. Sit with it for a moment. Let it settle deep. Let it sink in until you can feel the warmth of a thought that supports you rising in your chest. Let it be the first thing you carry out of bed, the first thing you carry into the world. Let it be the thought that guides the words you speak, the choices you make, the way you treat others, and the way you treat yourself. Let it be the seed that grows into a strong and stable force in your life. Because when you win the morning in your mind, you win the day in your world. And when you win enough days, you win a lifetime. You don't have to wait for the right moment. You don't have to wait for permission. You just have to make the decision every morning. Decide to focus your thoughts. Decide to feed the voice that tells you, yes, you can. Decide to rise from that bed knowing that you have a say in how your day unfolds. It starts with that first thought. The rest of the story is yours to write. Now, when you close this video, don't just forget about this. Do it. Practice it. Practice it. Tonight before you fall asleep. Practice it tomorrow morning when you first open your eyes. Put it to the test. Watch how it reshapes the hours that follow. Watch how it reshapes the person you become. It won't be easy every day. Nothing worth doing ever is, but it will be worth it every single time. You deserve a life built from strong thoughts. You deserve a future built from clarity, rent, and focus. And it all starts the moment you decide every morning to focus on your thoughts. It's your choice. Make it. Stay with it. Let it carry you closer every day to the person you want to be. The door is open. All you have to do is walk through it. Number 2, push yourself to stay disciplined when you want to quit. Have you ever felt that moment when your body wants to give up, but a tiny voice deep inside refuses to be silenced? That tiny voice is where your future lives. It doesn't matter how strong you were yesterday. What matters is how strong you are when every part of you is saying stop. The truth is, every person you respect, every person you admire, every person who has built a life worth remembering, has felt that exact moment. The difference is that they didn't walk away. They didn't give themselves a reason to accept defeat. They refused to walk out the door when the pain felt too much. They refused to settle when quitting felt like a release. You have felt this too. The alarm goes off, and every thought in your body begs for more rest. The work in front of you feels too long, too hard, too overwhelming. You wonder if any of it is worth it. You wonder if anyone will notice. You wonder if anyone will care. But this is the moment where the path of an average life and the path of an extraordinary life, the person who wins in the end doesn't win because the path was smooth. They win because they refuse to walk away. When every part of their body screamed for a way out. What separates the person who builds strength from the person who stays stuck is one simple thing: discipline. Not the idea of discipline, not the thought of it, not a poster on the wall reminding you to try harder. True discipline is a quiet, stubborn agreement with yourself that you will stay long after it stops feeling comfortable. True discipline is a quiet conversation between your mind and your body, where the mind says, I am not leaving this room until I have done what I came to do. And the body finally surrenders. True discipline doesn't come from a burst of emotion. It doesn't come from applause. It doesn't come from knowing someone is watching. True discipline is born in moments when no one else can save you. It arrives when no one else can motivate you. It arrives when you have nowhere to turn, except inward. Have you ever noticed how many people walk away just when the breakthrough is about to arrive? They walk away when the results are moments from showing themselves. They walk away because quitting feels like relief. But quitting doesn't kill the pain. It only moves it to another day. The person who gives in to quitting wakes up every morning with the quiet ache of knowing that they didn't give all they could. The person who stays, the person who pushes through when every voice says enough, wakes up knowing one thing: they can trust themselves. They can respect themselves. They can stand in the mirror and accept the person looking back. This is not about some magical secret. This is about making a decision every single time it hurts. Will you walk out? Will you give in? Will you tell yourself that tomorrow is a better day? Knowing deep down that tomorrow will only be harder because you refuse to rise to the challenge when it was in front of you. The person you want to be doesn't live in tomorrow. They live in this moment. They live in this breath. They live in this choice. There is a reason why discipline feels so rare. It's because it demands that you fight an enemy that no one can see except you. It's the voice inside your own head that begs for comfort. It's the voice that reminds you of every mistake. It's the voice that whispers, why bother? Why try? What if it doesn't work? And if you listen long enough, that voice will win. The person you imagine when you close your eyes. The person strong enough to stand tall. The person brave enough to risk. The person you pray to become can only live when that voice is silenced by action. Each time you stay when your body begs to run, you carve a new line deep into who you are. You teach yourself that you can be trusted. You teach yourself that feelings do not govern your choices. You teach yourself that discomfort is a price worth paying for a life that means more than survive. You teach yourself that every victory worth holding has a moment where it felt too far away. That is why discipline is worth it. Not for the applause, not for the recognition, not for the trophy. It's worth it for the person you become when you walk through the pain. It's worth it for the nights when you can put your head on the pillow and feel that quiet burning pride in your chest. It's worth it for the morning when you open your eyes and realize that you are stronger than the voice that once controlled you. Most people give up when it hurts. Most people accept mediocrity when the weight feels too heavy. But most people don't understand that every moment of resistance is a gift. Every bead of sweat that burns across your skin is a sign that you are doing something rare. Every thought that tells you to run is an invitation to stay. The greatest moments in life don't arrive when things are easy. They arrive when things feel unbearable. When every piece of you wants to walk away, and you stay. Not because it feels good, but because you gave your word. And your word means more than any moment of doubt. If you can teach yourself this one lesson, this one quiet rule, that when you want to walk away, you will stay until it's done, then every area of your life can shift. The discipline you build at the gym becomes the discipline you carry to your work. The discipline you carry in moments of doubt becomes the discipline that guides how you treat your family, how you build your future, how you rise when life demands more from you than you ever thought you had to give. The person you respect, the person you admire, the person you want to become is only built in those moments where you stand, tired and shaking, and you tell yourself, I am still here. I am still doing this. I am still choosing to honor the best version of myself. Right now, you have a choice. Stay when it hurts. Stay when no one is cheering. Stay when the voice inside begs you to walk away. Stay because that is where the strength is built. Stay because that is where the man or woman you have hoped to become is waiting for you. Stay for every person you will one day help by showing that it can be done. Stay because one day, when you are tired and older and looking back, you will remember this moment and understand that this was the moment when you refused to give in, when you refused to walk out, when you refused to accept a lesser version of yourself. It doesn't matter how many times you have fallen before. What matters is that tonight, tomorrow morning, this very moment when it is tempting to walk away, you make a different decision. You stay. You rise. You continue. Not for applause, not for a picture, not for a post. You stay because it is right. You stay because it is how you prove to yourself every day that you are worth more than your doubt, worth more than your fear, worth more than your fatigue. Stay when you want to run. Stay when no one is watching. Stay because this is how you win. And this is how you build a life worth remembering. Stay. Stay until it's done. Stay until you become who you promised yourself you would be. Stay until the person you always hoped for looks back at you in the mirror and nods, knowing you gave this moment every ounce of who you are. Stay and watch how a moment can change your whole life. Stay and never forget that this is how a person becomes unstoppable. Stay. Stay until the victory arrives. Stay until the person you deserve to be is standing in that room with you. Stay and claim the life that only discipline can build. Stay. Stay. The door to your best self is right in front of you. All you have to do is stay. Number 3. Challenge every doubt that tells you to give up. Have you ever felt that quiet whisper deep inside that tells you you're not enough? that you don't belong, that you should just walk away and forget the dream that won't stop burning in your chest. That voice doesn't come from nowhere. It arrives in moments when you stand on the edge of your biggest chance, when the weight of possibility presses down, when your hands are shaking and your heart is beating like a drum. And it's in that exact moment when doubt threatens to swallow you whole, that your future is decided, not by luck, not by chance, but by how you answer that voice. Every person you've admired, every person you've watched rise from obscurity to strength, every person who has built a life worth remembering has met that voice. They've felt it crawling up from deep within, whispering that it's too hard, that it's too late, that someone else is better. The difference is that those people refuse to make a home for that voice. They refuse to give doubt a seat at the table. They refuse to accept its version of reality as the truth. And that choice, that refusal, is where life shifts from ordinary to extraordinary. You've felt doubt too. It doesn't matter where you came from or what you have been through. At some point you felt that sting in your chest when an opportunity appeared and a thought bubbled up inside saying, you can't do this. You felt the sting of looking in the mirror and questioning whether you have what it takes. You felt that tight grip of fear when you've tried to raise your voice or raise your hand, and doubt pulled you down like a weight tied to your ankle. What you have to understand is this. Doubt is not a sign you're in the wrong place. It's a sign you're exactly where you need to be. Doubt doesn't attack you when you're doing nothing. It doesn't rise when you're standing still. It only appears when you're reaching, when you're striving, when you're putting yourself in a position to grow. The presence of doubt is proof that you're challenging yourself. It's proof that you're trying to break out of the walls that have kept you small for too long. It's proof that you're shaking the bars of a comfort zone that doesn't deserve to define the rest of your life. What separates the person who moves forward from the person who freezes is how they respond in that moment. You can feed the voice that tells you to give up. You can give it strength every time you accept its version of the story. Or you can stand in its path, call it by its name, and answer it with action. You can acknowledge the doubt, acknowledge the fear, and then move anyway. You can say to yourself, I feel this, I recognize this, and I will walk through it because the person I am meant to become is on the other side. Imagine standing in the quiet of an early morning when the world hasn't yet pressed its demands upon you. The air is still, and for a moment it's just you and that voice. Will you listen? Will you accept its verdict? Or will you rise? One thought, one word, one step at a time, and answer it with a force it can't match. You have the right to walk toward the things that scare you. You have the right to pursue a life that excites you, even when your hands are shaking and your voice feels too soft. The voice of doubt will scream for attention every time you try to rise, every time you try to claim a piece of a better life. Let it scream, let it thrash, let it beat its fists upon the walls of your heart. You don't have to listen, you don't have to obey. The person you're trying to become is built in those moments when doubt threatens to sink its teeth into your resolve, and you move forward anyway. The person you deserve to be is shaped in those moments when every thought says, stop, and every beat of your heart says, try. You don't have to destroy doubt. You don't have to banish it from your life. You only have to stand taller than it, walk harder than it can drag you down, and speak louder than it can whisper. Look at your hands right now. Think about the moments when you felt strong enough to rise. Moments when you refused to give in. Moments when you refused to accept someone else's version of your worth. Those moments weren't accidents. They weren't miracles. They were choices. You chose to rise when the voice told you to stay down. You chose to step forward when every thought said to turn back. You have done this before. You can do it again. And every time you do, every time you stand and walk, every time you refuse to be conquered by doubt, you build a stronger version of yourself. Most people walk away when doubt arrives. Most people spend their lives accepting that voice as a verdict, as a fact, as a sentence. You can be different. You can acknowledge it, feel it sting, and still stand tall. You can move through it until it becomes a faint sound in the distance. You can teach yourself that doubt is not a sign to stop, but a sign to dig deeper. You can teach yourself that fear doesn't have to win, that it can walk beside you until it loses its grip. Every great story you've ever admired came from a moment like this one. Not because those people had no doubt, not because those people were born with some special force, but because those people refused to make doubt their destination. They refused to give it a voice that was louder than their own. They refused to accept its version of their future as the truth. They acted, they spoke, they stepped forward when every piece of their body wanted to turn away. You can do the same. You can stand in that quiet space tonight or tomorrow morning when doubt finds its way to your door, and you can answer it with a decision that will shift the rest of your life. You can stand in its path and say, I hear you, and I am going anyway. You can stand in its path and claim the right to build a life that excites you, a life that scares you in the best possible way, a life that only you can create. The voice will come, as it always does. Let it rise, let it scream, let it whisper, let it try, and then move. Move like your future depends on it, because it does. Move like the person you deserve to be is waiting just on the other side. Move like every step you take is a quiet victory over a voice that can only win if you stand still. Today can be the day you draw a line. Today can be the moment you tell yourself, enough, not anymore. Today can be the point where you walk toward the person you have hoped to be for too long. All it takes is one moment where doubt speaks, and you answer. Not with a speech, not with a declaration, not with a fight. You answer by putting one foot in front of the other, and choosing to live as if doubt has no claim on your future. That is how strength is born. That is how resilience takes root. That is how a life worth living is built. Not by silencing doubt, but by making sure its voice is never louder than the sound of your own beating heart. So when that voice arrives tonight or in the morning, when it tells you to give up, when it tells you to walk away, remember this: you have already felt this sting. You have already lived this scene, and you can walk through it stronger, wiser, and more certain than you ever thought you could be. Let doubt speak, but don't let it decide. Let it rise, but don't let it rule. You have a life to build, a future to claim, and a version of yourself that is worth every step you take to get there. It starts now. It starts with you. It starts with one quiet, powerful choice: to rise when doubt tells you to fall. Stay with that choice. Stay with that breath. Stay with that step. And watch as doubt fades, and a stronger, calmer, more certain version of you takes its place. Stay with it until that version of you is the one living, breathing, and creating every moment of your life. Stay with it until doubt has no room left to stand. Stay with it until you become unstoppable. Stay with it, because this is how a life worth living is claimed. Stay with it. Stay with it. Stay with it. Stay with it until it becomes who you are. Number 4. Refuse to accept excuses that hold you back. Stop telling yourself you have a good reason to stay stuck, when every person you respect built their life on facing harder truths. You wake up with dreams pressing on your mind, and before you even stand up, the mind fires off a dozen reasons why today isn't the day. You tell yourself you don't have enough time, you don't have enough energy, you don't have enough support. You say the market is too crowded, the economy is too shaky, the timing is wrong. Those words feel real in the moment because they sound logical. They wrap around your fear and give it a comfortable home. But every excuse you accept today is a barrier you build around the person you could become tomorrow. I know how it feels to cradle those reasons in your heart. I've seen bright futures dimmed by the weight of a checklist of supposed obstacles. I've watched talented people bury their vision under the rubble of why not now. I've felt the heaviness in my own chest when the list of excuses started to sound more like truth. I remember sitting at my desk, the world beyond the window buzzing with opportunity, while I convinced myself it was safer to stay in place. My body ached for forward motion, but my mind kept a tight grip on every reason why I should pause. Here's what changed everything for me. I noticed the moment an excuse was born, I could challenge it. I could ask myself if that reason was a fact or a fear wearing a clever disguise. The second I started asking that question, I discovered freedom. Not because every obstacle vanished, but because I learned to accept that obstacles are part of the path, not evidence that the path is wrong. I learned to refuse the convenience of excuses and to face each day ready to find solutions. Think about the last time you felt held back. Was there ever a perfect moment? Did the calendar ever align itself? Did the sun shine exactly at the right angle? Did a sign descend from the sky saying today is your day? No. You were waiting for permission that never existed, waiting for a blessing that had to be claimed, waiting for a problem-free path that doesn't exist in the real world. Every true step forward in life begins before the world is ready. It begins in the mind of the person, bold enough to move despite the noise of every excuse. Every excuse you make is a choice you repeat. You choose to believe that your schedule is too full, instead of choosing to carve out priority time. You choose to believe that your skills aren't enough, instead of choosing to build them. You choose to believe that past failures define your future instead of choosing to let experience be your guide. You choose to believe the voice of doubt instead of the voice of possibility. And every time you choose an excuse, you strengthen the habit of standing still. What if tomorrow you refused every whisper that tries to stall you? What if with each thought that says, "Not now," you responded with, "How can I make this now?" What if you treated excuses as temporary invitations to rethink your plan, rather than permanent signs that you should stop? When I began questioning excuses the moment they formed, I found paths I never saw before. I found resources in the most unlikely places. I found allies in people who thought my goals were impossible. I found that pressure is not a signal to back down, but a signal to bring forth your best. You might think that refusing excuses means facing more pain, that every problem you accept now will grow until it crushes you. But the opposite is true. Every excuse you shut down today keeps the mountain from rising tomorrow. When you face a problem head on, you tame it. You shrink it. You learn its patterns and you learn how to overcome it. You find strength you didn't know you had. You discover solutions that become stepping stones. You turn challenges into stepping stones instead of stumbling blocks. And when tomorrow's problems come, and they will, you stand stronger because you have practiced facing problems and winning. I want you to imagine standing at the edge of the life you've always wanted. Feel the weight in your chest, the racing of your pulse, the beat of hope and fear tangled together. Now imagine taking a deep breath and refusing every excuse that wants to freeze you. Say silently, "No more. Today I find my way." Picture that moment of decision. It doesn't have to be loud or dramatic. It can be a quiet vow in the dark before anyone else wakes. It can be a firm yes under your breath before you face the first email. It can be a simple nod when the voice of doubt arrives and tries to stop you. That choice is where real change starts. Because change doesn't begin with grand gestures. It begins with a commitment to respond differently. In the small moments, you decide today that you won't accept that your family needs more time from you before you pursue what drives you. You decide that you won't let your bank balance decide whether you learn a new skill. You decide that you won't let yesterday's mistakes tell the story of tomorrow's possibilities. You decide that you will show up for yourself with the same loyalty you would give to someone you love deep. You decide that your dreams are worthy of your best effort, not just your leftover energy. You cannot outrun excuses. You cannot outrun the stories your mind tells you. You can only outrun them by replacing them with actions. Every time you act despite an excuse, you build a new memory. You build evidence that you can do more than your doubts allow. You build a track record of overcoming, and that track record becomes the fuel you rely on the next time an excuse shows up. Because your mind never rests. When you refuse one excuse, it forms another. That's its job. But every time you push through an excuse, your mind learns to respect your resolve. It learns that excuses won't earn a seat at your table. So here's what I want you to do when you finish watching this video. Right now, think of the biggest reason you have for not taking the next step toward your goal. Now challenge it. Ask if it's truly a barrier or just a story your mind created to keep you comfortable. Then ask what one small action you can take right now to begin dissolving that barrier. It doesn't have to solve the problem completely. It just has to move you forward. Pick up a book, send a message, make a plan. Do something that proves to yourself that excuses will not write the next chapter of your life. When you do this, you will feel something shift inside. You will feel your chest open a little wider. You will feel a spark of confidence return. You will feel your hands shake as you type or pick up the phone. You will feel your fears there, and you will feel your decision stronger. That is success in action. That is refusing excuses and building solutions. That is the difference between someone who lives in their future and someone who hides behind reasons to stay safe. Today can be the moment you decide to live by action rather than by reason. Today can be the day you stop giving excuses a vote in your life. Today can be the day you take a step so small it seems insignificant to anyone else, but so powerful to you that it changes everything. Today can be the day you become an example, not just for others watching, but for every part of yourself that once hid behind a reason to wait. Go now. Challenge your excuse. Take the step, and when you do, come back and tell me what happened. The world is waiting for the person who refuses to accept excuses. Be that person. Number 5. Practice seeing yourself win before you ever try. Have you ever noticed how some people walk into a room like they've already won? Like every word and every step confirms a quiet belief deep within themselves. That's not an accident, and it's not luck. It's a decision. Long before that person acted, long before the applause came, long before the opportunity appeared, they saw it clearly. They felt it deeply. They practiced it in their mind until it felt more real than the room they were standing in. This is the truth no one tells you enough. The biggest victories happen long before the world can witness them. long before anyone else knows your name. They happen in the quiet moments when you close your eyes and picture yourself as the person you want to be. If you want to break free from where you are right now, if you want to rise above the doubt, the noise, the setbacks that haunt you every night, you have to understand this one thing. You have to practice seeing yourself win, long before you ever try. Not for a moment, not as a thought that slips away like mist, not as a flash of someday, sometime. You have to practice it until it feels like a memory, until your body can't tell the difference between a scene you created and one that already happened. Look back for a second. Think about the moments when you felt defeated before you started. The moments when you walked into a conversation, an interview, a challenge, and felt that tiny sting deep in your chest that said, maybe I'm not enough. You remember how that felt. You remember how your voice shook, how your thoughts tangled, how every word felt like a test. Those moments weren't a reflection of your worth. They were a reflection of the picture you held in your mind. You had already rehearsed defeat long before you walked in. You had already played it out in silence. You had already felt its sting in your heart. What if you refused to live like that? What if you refused to accept a picture of yourself that doesn't match the person you want to be? What if every morning you gave yourself a moment, 10 quiet minutes, where you refused to surrender to the noise of the world and chose instead to create a scene in your mind so vivid, so strong, that it felt like a moment you had already lived? What if you felt the warmth of that win on your skin, the sound of your own voice confident and strong, the sensation of standing tall and knowing you gave yourself fully to that moment? What if you practiced this every day until it felt more real than the bed you rose from? What do you think would change? Everything. Your brain doesn't always understand the difference between a scene you create and one you witness. It doesn't ask questions. It doesn't argue. It simply obeys. What you feed it becomes the map it uses to guide your thoughts, your body, and your behavior. What you imagine becomes what you expect. What you expect becomes how you walk into the room, how you move through a conversation, how you approach a challenge. This is why every great person you have ever admired built their biggest victories in the privacy of their own thoughts, long before the world ever noticed. You can do this too. Not because you're different from the rest, but because you're no different. You have the same tool inside of you that every person who has shaped a life worth living has used. You have the ability to choose your picture. You have the ability to walk yourself through a scene long before it arrives, to create a version of yourself that you can step into. Not tomorrow, not when things are better, not when fear quiets down. Today. Now, in the moments when doubt is loud and your future feels far away. In those moments, you can stand still, close your eyes, and build a scene so rich and powerful that it becomes the foundation of your action. Imagine this. The alarm goes off, and before you rise, you stay still. You breathe slowly. You picture yourself doing the things that matter most to you. You watch yourself rising from bed with calm strength. You watch yourself making the calls you've been putting off. You watch yourself shaking hands with the person who can open a door for you. You watch yourself finishing the workout that you started 100 times, but never finished. You don't just watch it. You live it in that moment. You feel it. You feel the tension in your muscle. You feel the sound of your voice saying the words. You feel the sting of effort. You feel the warmth of satisfaction. You don't wait for the scene to happen. You create it until it is a part of you. Then you, not as a person hoping for the best, but as a person who has already acted, already felt, already conquered that scene within. You rise as someone who knows, deep down, that this is no longer an accident waiting to happen. It is a choice you have already made. Most people walk into moments hoping for a chance. Very few walk into moments knowing they have already claimed their place. This is why you must practice seeing yourself win, not as a hobby, not as a thought that slips away as soon as doubt arrives, but as a discipline, as a routine, as a promise you make to yourself every morning and every night, until it becomes as automatic as breathing. If you wait for the world to hand you a picture worth seeing, you will wait forever. The world will give you doubt. The world will give you setback. The world will give you every reason to walk away. The picture worth seeing is the one you create when no one is looking, when no one can doubt it, because it doesn't depend on their permission. It depends only on your willingness to believe that you can be more. This doesn't mean you won't fail. This doesn't mean every scene you create will happen exactly as you imagined. Life doesn't work like that, but it means you walk in stronger. It means you walk in ready. It means you walk in knowing that even if the scene shifts, you have a voice, a body, and a heart that can adapt, because you have rehearsed resilience itself. You have practiced not just a win, but the state of a person who can stand, can breathe, can move, can rise regardless of the circumstance. Today, tonight, tomorrow morning, pick a moment, close your eyes and build it. Build it until it lives in your chest. Build it until it tightens your breath and softens your voice. Build it until it shines in your mind when doubt arrives. Build it until you recognize yourself in that scene more than you recognize the person staring back from the mirror. Build it until you have no choice but to walk toward it. Then walk, not as a person hoping, not as a person wishing, not as a person fearing defeat. Walk as a person who has already felt the sting of that victory long before the world witnessed it. Practice seeing yourself win until you forget how to picture yourself any other way. Practice it until it becomes who you are. Practice it until it becomes the very air you breathe. Practice it until no one can doubt that you belong in that scene, because you have lived it too deeply to ever walk away. Practice seeing yourself win until victory is not an accident, not a chance, but a decision you have made long before the world arrives to watch. Number 6, train your mind to stay calm under pressure. When the world tightens the screws around your throat, your mind is the only thing that can loosen them and let you breathe. I remember the first time I stood in front of a crowd, with my heart racing so fast that it felt like it might burst. My hands were slick with sweat, and my knees shook beneath me. Every part of my body screamed for an escape. I wanted to run to the back exit and hide, but something deeper inside whispered, "You can handle this." That whisper, "You can handle this." That whisper became my guide. It taught me that staying calm under pressure isn't about removing the pressure. It's about choosing to face it with a steady mind. You have felt this too. Maybe it was the moment you had to give a presentation at work, or the day you sat in a car that wouldn't start on your way to a critical interview. You felt your breathing tighten, your jaw lock, your vision narrow down to a single point. You told yourself you couldn't do it, that you'd freeze, that you'd fail. In those seconds, the difference between winning and giving up depends entirely on one thing: training your mind to stay calm. Not tomorrow, not after you feel brave. Right now, in the chaos and storm of your thoughts, you can learn to anchor yourself. Here is the first shift to make. Recognize that pressure is not an enemy. It's a signal. It's your body telling you that something matters. Pressure can push you into panic, or it can sharpen your focus. The choice is yours. The person who thrives under pressure does not pretend the pressure is gone. They feel it in their chest, and then they choose to make that feeling work for them. They take a deep breath, feel the air filling their lungs, and they remind themselves that they are bigger than any momentary fear. They remind themselves that they have overcome hard things before and they can do it again. I want you to do something now. Close your eyes for just a moment and picture a situation that terrifies you. Feel the tightness in your chest. Notice the heat in your face. Notice your hands begin to tremble. That is your starting point. Don't run from it. Don't pretend it's not there. Acknowledge it. Say silently to yourself, "I feel this pressure and I will meet it." That simple recognition cuts through half the panic. It reminds your mind that you are aware. Awareness is the first step to control. Next, learn to anchor yourself with small moments of calm. When my knees started to shake on that stage, I learned to shift my focus to my breathing. I counted each inhalation and exhalation. I felt the weight of my feet touching the floor. I listened to the faint hum of the lights above me. In that brief pause, my mind found solid ground. You can do the same. No matter what storm rages around you, you always have this moment of breath. You always have the world beneath your feet. You always have the sense you can choose to do. Let me tell you about someone I worked with who discovered this the hard way. She was a top performer in her company, but every time she led a meeting, her voice trembled and her mind felt foggy. She was brilliant, but her fear of speaking turned every chance she had into a battle. We worked on one simple exercise. Before she stepped into any room, she spent 30 seconds grounding herself. She planted her feet. She closed her eyes. She even rubbed her palms, tapped with her, feel the texture of her own skin. Then she breathed 3 slow breaths and repeated, "I am here. I am steady." In a week, her hands stopped shaking. In a month, she was guiding presentations with calm authority. She didn't remove the challenge. She trained her mind to meet it. You might be thinking you don't have 30 seconds. You might think your situation is more intense. That's exactly where you begin. The people you admire are not living without pressure. They have found ways to pause their panic in the narrowest slivers of time. They have caught themselves in the moment before fear explodes. They have built a habit of one calm breath. You can create that same habit. Every time you feel your pulse jump, you pause, you breathe, you feel, you repeat your own steady words. There's a second layer to this practice. Control the story you tell yourself about the pressure. In your mind, pressure can be a trial or an opportunity. It can mean you are failing, or it can mean you are growing. When I learned to shift my inner story, I found that the same event that once terrified me began to excite me. My heart rate still jumped, but it turned into energy instead of panic. My hands still felt cold, but that chill turned into a rush of focus. Your mind listens to the story you tell. If you tell it, "I am under attack," it will arm your body for a fight you can't win. If you tell it, "I am facing a chance to show what I can do," it will steady your thoughts and sharpen your senses. Ask yourself this question before you step into any pressure. What story will I tell myself about this? Decide it ahead of time. Will you tell yourself it's a threat, or will you tell yourself it's a gateway? Choose the gateway. Choose the path to growth. Practice repeating it until it feels as natural as breathing. Practice it in small ways first. When you're caught in traffic, when your phone glitches, when an email goes to then bring it into your biggest moments. Another tool that changed everything for me was learning to view pressure as a signal to simplify. When your mind races, it's because it's juggling too many thoughts. You can't calm the mind by piling on more ideas. You calm it by stripping away everything except what matters now. In that frenzy, ask yourself, what is the single next action I need to take? Focus on that. Nothing else. Let the rest wait for a moment. In crises, we often imagine we must solve everything at once. The calm person solves one piece at a time. They let one clear thought dominate until it leads to the next. I want you to remember a time you panicked over too much information. A deadline flashed on your calendar. Your inbox exploded, and your mind fractured. You felt lost. You forgot where to begin. Instead of letting it spin you out, choose now to pause. Pull everything back. Pick the one task that moves the needle most. Let it be the anchor for your mind. Give it full attention. Let every breath support it. Let every second feed its completion. As soon as you finish, the next task becomes your focus. Step by step, your mind stays calm because it has one clear purpose at a time. Finally, build your calm under pressure like a muscle. You don't start lifting heavy weights on day one. You start with light resistance, and you add a little more. You adapt. You grow. Your mind works the same way. Start with small moments of pressure. Recording yourself speaking, talking to a new person, sending a difficult email. Feel the tension. Breathe through it. Tell your mind a story of growth. Simplify your focus. Finish the action. Celebrate the success, even if it feels tiny. Repeat tomorrow with a bit more challenge. Over time, your mind will learn that pressure means progress, not panic. It will learn that you can trust yourself to stay calm, that you can handle more than you ever thought. When you face your next big moment, whether it's stepping onto a stage, signing a contract, or having a tough conversation, remember the whisper inside you. That first day I stood shaking before that crowd. You feel pressure. Good. It means you're alive. It means something real is happening. Now meet it with a steady breath. Meet it with a clear focus. Meet it with a story of opportunity. Meet it with 1 inch of attention at a time. Meet it with the confidence that you have trained your mind for this very moment. Meet it and let calm guide your every move. Now go and practice this. The world will push you. Your mind will fight, and you will prove to yourself in every moment of tension that you have the power to remain calm, the power to succeed, and the power to show that pressure only strengthens you when you train your mind to stand firm. Take that first breath and let the calm begin. Number 7, build habits that support your biggest daily goals. Today you can make a choice that will haunt you forever. If you don't make it now, a choice that will either bury your biggest dream or bring it to life. The person you are right now, standing where you stand, surrounded by all the noise and all the pressure, can walk down a path that leads to a quiet life of regret, or one that ends with a moment of looking back and saying, I gave myself every chance to win. This is the line you stand upon every morning when your alarm goes off. Every evening, when the weight of the day settles in. This is the moment you must understand one thing above all. Your habits are not tiny details. They are the architects of your future. The biggest victories you crave don't arise from chance or sheer force of will. They arise from patterns. Patterns you create. Patterns you live. Patterns you repeat until they carry you further than you ever thought you could go. Look closely at the people you admire. The ones who seem to rise when others sink. The ones who stand tall when the room goes quiet. They didn't arrive by accident. They built their moments long before anyone noticed. They built them one routine, one decision, one discipline at a time. What you call their overnight success is really 10 years of showing up every morning when no one was watching. 10 years of saying no to distractions when no one was looking. 10 years of doing the things no one applauded. This is where mastery lives, in the quiet spaces of a person's life. This is where habits are born, and this is where the biggest moments of your life are shaped. Think about the habits that fill your days right now. The first moments when you open your eyes. The conversations you have. The way you respond when things don't go as planned. The moments when you choose comfort over challenge. These tiny moments repeated day after day don't just form your schedule, they form you. They build a version of you that can rise to a challenge or collapse under its weight. The harsh truth is that you don't rise to the level of your biggest goal. You sink to the level of your habits. This is why you must create habits that align with where you're going, not where you are. If you want to build a business, write a book, change your body, deepen your relationships, or climb out of a hole you felt stuck in for too long, it will not happen because of one moment of motivation. Motivation burns bright, then fades. Habits are the quiet threads that weave strength through every long night and every hard morning. They don't ask for applause. They don't ask for thanks. They only ask for one thing: consistency. Most people forget that every daily choice is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every night you stay up scrolling your phone when you promised yourself rest. You vote for a tired, distracted version of yourself. Every morning you rise early to write a page, to walk a mile, to review your goals. You vote for a stronger, more focused version of yourself. No one wins by accident. No one arrives by chance. They arrive by making 100 quiet, unseen votes every day until those votes create a person strong enough to carry the weight of the biggest moment. That person you picture when you close your eyes, the one you imagine when doubt is silenced and hope is allowed to speak, can only emerge when you create habits that support that version of yourself. Not habits you can tolerate for a day or a week, but habits you can carry for a lifetime. What does that person do when the alarm rings? What does that person say when a conversation turns tense? What does that person choose when faced with comfort versus discipline? What does that person read, watch, eat, and focus on? Those choices aren't random. They are habits. To build habits that matter, you must first accept this simple truth: every new habit will feel awkward until it feels automatic. The person you want to become doesn't live in your comfort zone. They live where discomfort feels worthwhile. The early mornings feel like a weight pressed down upon your chest. The workout feels like a challenge that threatens to send you backward. The quiet moments you carve out to focus on your biggest goal feel like a space too exposed to doubt. But this is how you build. This is how you transform. The discomfort you lean into is the seed of ferment. The resistance you overcome today is the root of resilience tomorrow. To make this shift, you must start by choosing one area of your life where habits can make the biggest impact. One area, not 10, not 5, one. You pick that area and you ask yourself, what routine can I create that will carry me closer to the person I must become? If you want to write a book, make it a habit to write every morning before your phone steals your focus. If you want to change your body, make it a habit to walk every evening before you sink into a screen. If you want to deepen a relationship, make it a habit to ask one meaningful question every night before bed. Whatever the area, commit to a single, deliberate routine that you can repeat until it becomes as natural as breathing. Then protect it. Guard it like it's worth more than any dollar you can imagine. Because it is worth more than any dollar. It is worth the version of you that no one else can create. People will try to pull you away from it. Life will test your resolve. Distractions will call your name. In those moments, you must remember why this habit was built. Not to impress anyone, not to prove a point, not to win applause, but to create a version of yourself that can carry the weight of your biggest goal and stand tall when it arrives. Then review your habits every night, not with judgment, not with anger, but with brutal honesty. Did I vote for the person I want to become today? Did I protect the routine that gives my biggest goal room to breathe? Did I use this day as a chance to step closer? Or did I surrender it to comfort and routine? The answer is never final. The answer is a guide for tomorrow. This is how the biggest victories are built. Not in a day, not in a single win, not in a moment of glory. They are built in countless moments that no one sees. They are built in early morning silence, when doubt is at its loudest. They are built when every part of you wants to walk away, and you stay. They are built when you accept that this path is not about feelings. It's about choices, and it's about repeating those choices until they shape you into the person you hoped you could be. You have this chance tonight, not tomorrow morning, not when the stars align, not when your schedule clear. Tonight, the moment this video ends, ask yourself, what one habit can I create that supports the biggest goal beating in my chest? What one routine can I carry with discipline until it reshapes who I am? Pick it, claim it, practice it tonight, practice it tomorrow morning, practice it when no one is looking, practice it until it becomes a part of you, until it no longer feels like a routine, but a reminder of who you have chosen to be. If you do this, if you stay loyal to this quiet practice every day, a year from now you will stand in a place you can hardly imagine tonight. You will stand in a space of strength, clarity, and pride. You will stand knowing that you built a person strong enough to carry the biggest goal you have ever held in your heart. That person will not arrive because of chance. That person will arrive because you built habits that refuse to break. Do it tonight. Begin tonight. Let this be the moment you claim the future you deserve. Let this be the night you walk forward, knowing exactly who you have chosen to become. Number 8, cut ties with people who kill your confidence. Some of the heaviest chains you carry in life are not made of steel. They are made of the words, looks, and gestures of people who have no right to shape who you are. There are moments when you walk into a room feeling strong, hopeful, full of ideas, and then one person's smirk, one person's careless remark, one person's quiet skepticism can make your chest tight, can make that voice inside you whisper, maybe I'm not enough. Those moments sting, because deep down you recognize a hard truth. The people you surround yourself with can build you, or they can bury you. And you have a choice every single day about who you hand that power to. I remember a man I met years ago. He worked harder than anyone I had ever seen. He came to the office early, left late, put his heart into every project. But every evening when he went home, every morning when he returned, he was weighed down. Not by the work, not by the pressure of the job. He was weighed down by a voice in his ear, a person close to him, reminding him of every risk, every doubt, every shortcoming. That person didn't raise him. They didn't support him. They chipped away at him until he felt too tired to fight, too tired to try, too tired to believe in himself anymore. You could watch it happen like water carving a groove in a rock, slow, constant, and devastating. That's the reality no one tells you when you're trying to make a change, when you're trying to rise out of a situation or become someone more. Sometimes it's not your lack of discipline that kills your chance. Sometimes it's not your ability that's missing. Sometimes it's the people around you, those who can only measure their worth by making you feel smaller, that stand like a wall between you and the person you deserve to be. If you want to live with any measure of strength or pride, you have to accept this one thing. Your life is too short and too precious to hand over to someone who uses it to fuel their own insecurities. The first step to reclaiming your future is to recognize where you've been giving your attention, your time, and your trust to those who don't deserve it. The people closest to you can be a mirror that shows you your best self, or a shadow that makes you forget your own life. They can stand beside you as you build or drag you down until your hands can no longer carry the weight of your dreams. It doesn't mean that every person who disagrees with you, every person who questions you is someone you must walk away from. True friends, true mentors, true companions will sometimes ask hard questions and make you think deeper. What you must cut away are the voices that kill your confidence. Not with tough love, not with honesty, but with cruelty. Not with a desire to help, but with a quiet joy in making you doubt yourself. Not with a wish to see you rise, but with a desperate need to watch you sink. You already know who these people are. You can feel it in your body when you're near them. You can sense it in the silence that settles when you walk away from a conversation. You can sense it in the sting that lingers long after a comment has passed. These are the moments when you have to ask yourself a harder question. How long am I willing to give my peace, my focus, my worth to someone who has no intention of seeing me win? What am I teaching myself about my own value every time I stay? The answer doesn't have to come with anger. It doesn't have to come with a scene. Sometimes it's just a quiet shift inside you. Sometimes it's a slow step back, a moment of distance that becomes a new routine. Sometimes it's a conversation where you make it clear that your worth is not up for debate. Sometimes it's knowing when to walk out a door and knowing when to stay away. What it has to come with is strength. The strength to accept that loyalty doesn't mean accepting cruelty. The strength to accept that some connections must end for new growth to happen. The strength to understand that the person you deserve to be needs room to breathe, room to walk, room to rise, and that room can only be found when you remove those who choke your air. The moment you make this choice, something shifts deep inside. The silence that once felt scary becomes space. The space that felt empty becomes opportunity. The weight that felt like a constant drag becomes a reminder of how strong you can stand when you no longer carry it. You notice that your thoughts become clearer. You notice that the sound of your own voice becomes stronger. You notice that the quiet moments no longer haunt you but invite you, because you have taken back the right to live for yourself. This doesn't mean you walk this path bitter or broken. It means you walk it knowing that every person you invite into your life must have a place, a purpose, and a role in making you better, not making you smaller. It means you walk knowing that some people belong to certain seasons, and when the seasons change, you have the right to step forward. It means you walk knowing that saying goodbye is not a mark of weakness. It is an act of strength. This is the hard part of building a life worth living. You have to decide whose voice you will carry when doubt arrives. Will it be the voice that sneers, that reminds you of every stumble, that waits for every crack in your armor? Or will it be the voice that reminds you that every stumble can be a lesson? Every crack can be a place where light enters. Will it be the voice that suffocates your dreams, or the voice that longings you to stand a little taller? Try one more time and move closer to the person you promised yourself you would become. Today, tonight, as you listen to these words, ask yourself, whose voice am I allowing to shape the person I am becoming? Whose words have I carried long enough? Whose quiet cruelty have I mistaken for friendship? Whose judgment have I allowed to weigh down the moments when I could have been building, growing, reaching, rising? The answer is in the silence that lingers when you ask. The answer is in the ache in your chest when you picture certain face. The answer is in the moments when you feel your own voice drowned out by theirs. Trust that answer, honor it, use it to draw a line, not out of hate, not out of anger, not out of a desire for revenge, but out of a deep respect for the person you are trying to become. You deserve to walk this path surrounded by those who want to walk with you. You deserve to rise with people who can clap when you win and stand firm when you stumble. You deserve to be witnessed by people who recognize your worth long before the world does. The life you deserve will not be built on permission from those who doubt you. It will be built on the strength of the boundaries you set, the clarity of the voice you listen to, and the loyalty you give to yourself when no one else is looking. So tonight, make this choice. Let this be the moment you step away from those who kill your confidence, those who steal your voice, those who make you forget your worth. Let this be the moment you reclaim your space, your strength, and your future. Let this be the moment you walk toward a room where every person you meet reminds you not of who you were, but of who you can be. Let this be the moment you stand tall, knowing the best chapter of your life can only be written when you have the courage to walk away from the pages that no longer belong to you. Let this be the moment you rise. Let this be the moment you choose let this be the moment your life truly begins. Number 9, force yourself to act when fear tells you no. The moment your heart is beating too fast and your hands are shaking, that is the very moment that separates those who rise from those who stay where they are. It is in that space when every part of your body is telling you to step back, when every thought in your mind is whispering no, that you have a chance to step forward and claim a piece of yourself that fear has kept hidden for too long. The voice that tells you to wait until it feels safe is the voice that will bury your biggest dreams. The person you are meant to become doesn't wait for permission from fear. The person you are meant to become knows that every time fear tries to stand in the way, it's a sign you're walking toward the right door. Think about it. Every moment that shaped your life came from doing something that felt too big, too hard, too dangerous. The first time you spoke your mind in a room where no one knew your name. The first time you tried for a job that felt out of reach. The first time you confessed feelings that made your chest ache. The moments that define us aren't found in comfort. They aren't found in hesitation. They arise when fear clenches its grip and you choose to move anyway. Not because you aren't afraid, but because you decide fear doesn't have the final word. You already know this. Somewhere deep inside, you can remember a moment when fear tried to choke the breath from your chest, and you acted anyway. Do you remember how it felt when you crossed that line? The beating of your heart became a drum. The sweat in your palm felt like a badge of honor. The quiver in your voice felt like proof that you refused to run. Those moments weren't about the result. They weren't about applause or reward. They were about gaining access to a part of yourself that no one can give you and no one can take away. They were about making a quiet, unshakable agreement with yourself that you are worth more than the comfort of standing still. Most people spend their lives listening to the voice of fear because it is easy. It doesn't ask for effort. It doesn't ask for sacrifice. It doesn't ask for growth. Fear doesn't want you to win. It doesn't want you to rise. It doesn't want you to stand tall in a room where others sink into their chairs. Fear wants you to walk backward, not forward. It wants you to trade your best moments for the faint safety of doing nothing. It's a voice that grows louder when you forget who you are, When you forget why you started. When you forget how strong you can be. When no one is looking. But the moment you make yourself move, when every thought in your head is begging you to run, a shift occurs. You teach your body a lesson. You teach your mind a lesson. You teach every piece of yourself that it can walk through flame and come out stronger. You teach every piece of yourself that the only way to overcome fear is to move while it still has its hands wrapped around your throat. You teach every piece of yourself that action is stronger than hesitation, and that fear dies the second you take a step toward it. Imagine the person you want to be, not the person you tell yourself about when you're dreaming in bed at night. Not the person you imagine when life feels quiet and safe, but the person you picture when your heart is beating hard and your hands are shaking. What would that person do? What choice would that person make when the voice of doubt grows louder? What conversation would that person have when silence is safer? What risk would that person take when standing still feels like relief? That person can only come to life when you give them a chance. Not next year. Not when the circumstances feel right. Not when the fear disappears. Now, in this moment, in this breath, in this space where fear tells you no, and you stand tall enough to answer, I choose to move anyway. Life will always give you reasons to walk away. It will always whisper that you aren't ready, that someone else can do it better, that the risk is too great, that the cost is too high. These whispers don't come from strength. They come from a deep, old instinct, meant to keep you safe when you were being hunted, when you had to stay alert just to survive. But the fears that haunt you now aren't about survival. They're about belonging. They're about growth. They're about doing what you came here to do, to create, to build, to stand, to rise, to reach for something that will only matter because you refused to listen to the voice that said you weren't enough. The moment you force yourself to move when fear says no is the moment you redefine the boundaries of who you can be. It doesn't matter how many times you stumble. It doesn't matter how many times you must quiet the voice that begs you to stop. What matters is that you walk forward anyway. What matters is that you teach yourself that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is making a choice when every part of you is shaking. Courage is saying yes when doubt clenches its fist and threatens to drag you backward. Courage is doing the thing that will haunt you if you don't try. This is not a lesson learned in a book. This is learned in the beating of your heart when you stand at the edge of a hard conversation. When you sign up for the race you have no proof you can finish. When you stand before a room that has never heard your voice. This is learned when every thought in your body tells you to turn away, and you step closer anyway. This is learned when your knees wobble and you walk because the person you owe this to is yourself. Today is the moment to make a decision. Will you continue to listen to the voice that tells you to stay small? Will you continue to walk backward every time fear clenches its grip? Will you continue to put the best moments of your life in the hands of hesitation? Or will you stand tall and walk toward the person you have promised yourself you can become? Will you take that first step tonight? Right now? In the eat space between fear and action. Trust this. The person you long to be is already there, waiting for you on the other side of every moment that scares you. The person you long to be is not born from comfort, not molded by hesitation, not shaped by avoidance. They are born from doing. They are born from acting. They are born from showing up when every voice told you not to. Act tonight, not tomorrow, not when it feels easy. Not when fear disappears. Act tonight when fear is burning in your chest and doubt is choking your breath. Act tonight because this is how your future is built. One moment of obedience to a deeper voice. One quiet choice to walk forward when every instinct tells you to stand still. Let this be the night you draw the line. Let this be the night you claim the person you have always known lives inside of you. Let this be the night you step toward the thing that scares you, knowing that every step forward is a step closer to a life you deserve. Let this be the night you rise. Let this be the night you win. Let this be the night that changes everything. Number 10. Choose to trust yourself. Every time it hurts. Every time life hits hard and pain wraps around your chest like a storm. That is the exact moment you must decide to trust yourself more than ever. When everything inside screams doubt, when the weight of what you're carrying feels unbearable, and the voices outside tell you to give up. That is when the single most powerful act you can do is to look inside and choose faith. Faith in your strength, in your wisdom, in your ability to rise even when it feels impossible. Trust is not about ignoring the pain or pretending everything is fine. It's about standing tall while it hurts and saying, I believe in the person I'm becoming even if I don't see them clearly yet. Trusting yourself during the toughest moments is a choice. It's not easy. It demands that you look directly at your fear, your heartbreak, your failures, and say, I know this is hard. I know I don't have all the answers, but I will keep moving because I trust the person who is fighting inside me. You don't have to wait until you feel ready or until the pain fades. The truth is, you rarely feel ready. The pain rarely fades on its own. But when you learn to choose trust in those moments, something powerful happens. You create a foundation of resilience that no setback can shake. You become your own source of strength when the world feels like it's turning against you. Think about the times you've doubted yourself before. The times when the disappointment hit so hard, it felt like it broke you. What if instead of turning away or shrinking back, you had taken a breath and told yourself, I'm not perfect, but I'm worthy of trust anyway? What if you had given yourself permission to be human and vulnerable, but also capable and strong? The difference between people who succeed and those who stay stuck isn't talent or luck. It's the ability to keep trusting themselves, even when every instinct tells them to run. The hardest part about trusting yourself when it hurts is that the world around you often seems to demand certainty and perfection. People expect you to have it all together. They expect you to bounce back quickly. They expect you to hide the cracks and bruises so no one doubts you. But real trust doesn't live in perfection. It lives in acceptance. Acceptance that life will hurt, that mistakes will happen, that growth comes from struggle. When you trust yourself through the pain, you stop fighting against reality and start fighting for the future you want. You already have everything you need inside to face the hardest days. What you need to do is stop looking outside for permission, for approval, for validation that you're enough. Trust is the quiet voice that says, I am learning, I am growing, I am becoming. It's the voice that holds your hand when the nights are long and the mornings are heavy. It's the voice that refuses to give up, no matter what the scorecard says. This voice is already inside you, waiting to be heard. The pain you feel is not a sign that you are weak. It's a sign that you are alive and that you care deeply about becoming more. When you make the choice to trust yourself every time it hurts, you build a shield that protects you from every doubt and criticism. You create a space where mistakes become lessons instead of proof that you aren't good enough. You transform fear into fuel and struggle into stepping stones. This trust gives you permission to move forward even when you're scared. It gives you permission to fall and get back up without losing faith in yourself. And that faith is the most powerful weapon you can carry. Imagine waking up every day knowing that no matter what happens, you have your own back. Imagine feeling a deep well of strength that no failure, no heartbreak, no setback can drain. Imagine standing in a room full of challenges and still knowing, without a shadow of doubt, that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, because you have chosen to trust the journey and trust the person you are becoming. That kind of trust is rare and precious. It doesn't come from the outside. It comes from the steady work of showing up for yourself in every moment. This journey will test you. The nights will feel cold and lonely. The pain will want to convince you to quit. But in the space between those moments, you have the power to create your own life. The power to choose trust instead of fear. The power to believe in your own worthiness, even when the world seems to say otherwise. You can decide that your mistakes do not define you. You can decide that your past failures are not the end of your story. You can decide that no matter how much it hurts, you will keep moving forward because you trust that your future is worth the fight. Tonight, as you reflect on this, make a promise to yourself. Promise to lean into the discomfort instead of running from it. Promise to give yourself grace when things go wrong. Promise to listen to the quiet voice of trust that says, you are enough, you are strong, you are capable. When you keep that promise, you build a foundation so solid that nothing can shake. You build a life where every pain becomes a seed for growth, and every challenge becomes proof of your courage. Trust is not a destination. It is a practice. It is a choice you make again and again. Some days it will feel impossible. Some days it will feel like you're walking through fire. But those days are the days that build the person who will one day look back and say, I did not give up. I chose myself when it mattered most. That is the person you are meant to become. Step into that truth today. Step into the strength of trusting yourself, even when it hurts. Step into the courage of knowing that your pain is real but does not control you. Step into the future you deserve by choosing faith in yourself, no matter what. This is the moment you rise. This is the moment you win. This is the moment that changes everything.